My name is Cameron Russ, and I read the book called Speak by Lori Halse Anderson, which is about a girl who was sexually abused by an older boy in high school. She attended her first high school party as a freshman, and from that night, her life completely changed. Throughout the story, we see her struggles every day going to school and how she copes with what she went through. There are several themes throughout the book that we see, like perseverance, isolation, sexual abuse, and more. These themes were also seen in another book my friend Noah Grimsley read.
Hi, I'm Noah Grimsley, and I read The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. The book is about a young teen who's entering his first year in high school. He's very scared and very socially awkward. He has trouble at first meeting new people, but he finds his group, and the book explores his social life and all the issues that come with it. There's actually an interesting twist at the end about his previous family history where he was sexually abused by his aunt. And some of the main themes are inclusivity, the importance of participating in life, and just general social themes. So Cameron, what was your favorite part of your book, and why was it your favorite part?
My favorite part of the book was probably towards the end. Throughout the whole book, we saw how much she struggled on a day-to-day basis at school. And so towards the end of the book, she finally was able to figure out how to deal with her situation, and she finally became strong, I guess.
What was
herself.
Her situation?
She got raped by a boy at a high school party, and she had no idea how to deal with it, and she had no friends in high school. So towards the end, she became strong and figured out how to deal with it. So that was my favorite part.
Okay.
What about you?
I actually enjoyed throughout the book. The main character Charlie was very interested in music, and the book is set in the 80s or 70s, so it's old music, and it's really cool how the music can kind of change his perspective of the world and change his mood. And I think that's a very important thing in the real world, how people can listen to music and they can kind of change their perspective on ideas through music, and that's a really important thing in life. What was a theme that you can take out of your book that you can use in your life?
I would say perseverance was probably the biggest theme that I saw in the book, because like I said, that was probably the most significant theme that the author was trying to portray in the story, and that's probably, out of all the themes, that's the one I could relate to the most with myself.
What's a real life situation you could use it in?
So I guess something that I could use in my real life would be like in the past, if I've had problems with my friends or which I have, something this book taught me is to just persevere, and then if I'm strong, then I can just easily
push through it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What about you?
What was the question? What was the main themes?
Yeah.
Okay.
How can you use it in your real life?
Well, there's a lot of issues that are not really I deal with because this kid is socially awkward, but I really feel for him because there are people in the world who have trouble making friends, and it's really the kind moments that stand out in people's lives. For example, in Charlie's life, he was at this party, and he had just met his two new friends, and he really didn't know anyone, and he was just there doing nothing. And then his friend Sam actually spoke up to the entire group and said, "Hello everyone, this is Charlie, and he's really cool, and I'm glad everyone can meet him now." And I think those moments are the important moments in everyone's life in high school. I think it's important to just show kindness and show inclusivity to everyone in all their lives. Okay, so some similar themes within our two books are
Sexual abuse,
perseverance,
bullying,
isolation,
friendship,
transformation,
guilt,
inclusivity,
being involved in life at the present,
smoking, drinking, and drugs. So, Cameron, how do you think these two books relate to each other? Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, I think they're both obviously about high school kids, and they both really touch on the idea of bullying and social pressure and social anxiety, really. And so I think these books are both sending the message that you are who you are, and the way you are is okay. And it doesn't matter what you think, what you do, how you speak. You're going to have a good time in life. Don't let others bring you down. What do you think?
Something that I saw in both of our books is that throughout the whole story, we see that both of them are pretty isolated, which was a huge theme in both of the books. But towards the end, both of the main characters like find out who they really are, and both of them find happiness in their life. So
Yeah, I agree. Because in the end of my book, particularly, Charlie had this crush on this girl the entire book, but he doesn't know how to act upon it. He doesn't know what to do. But at the end, she ultimately makes the move towards him, and that makes him so much happier. And his life just works out. Even though it doesn't seem like it at the end, it works out, actually, which is very nice.
what type of reader would you recommend your book to?
I would recommend this book to every high school kid, particularly the ones who are having trouble in their lives at this particular moment, because it really shows you how if you just get through every day, one day at a time, things will get better, and you just have to have a good outlook on the world. What about you?
I would also 100% recommend it to high school students, but also to anyone who loves reading a book about just an inspirational story, or a book that sends so many great messages to the reader and you can learn so much from the story.
So like we mentioned earlier in the common themes between our books, smoking, drinking, and drugs is a very common theme. And in the real world, people use smoking, drinking, and drugs as an escape from the reality. They use it as a way to get out of their problems. I once spoke to an addict, and he told me that people don't use drugs just because they use them. They use them to deal with something in their lives at the moment. So I think both these books touch on the issue of dealing with something in your life and pushing through it with unhealthy substances and unhealthy methods. And my book particularly also touches on how those methods that he used didn't actually work out for him, and that seeking help with psychologists, therapists actually ultimately helped him more than drugs ever did. What about you, Cameron? Actually, we're going to move on. What do you have to share about a symbol or a theme in your book?
So smoking, drinking, and drugs was also a symbol in my book, because the main character, Melinda, was drinking at this party, and so was the boy that she was sexually abused by. And what I learned from it is, something I learned after reading this book is that something that I learned from this story is that drinking is a very harmful and dangerous thing to do, because I've read so many stories like about how harmful drinking can be, but through
Raping situations.
yeah. And so through this story, I learned that like how harmful it can actually be, and
Like how it can be like a real life like situation, right?
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of scary to think about, right?
Yeah.
Before we go, I want to touch on an important quote from my book. Towards the beginning of the book, and once during the end, each character says something to Charlie that really stands out of the entire story. They say, "Charlie, we accept the love we think we deserve." And so this quote speaks a lot about self-respect and kind of confidence. And I think it's really applicable to my life and probably Cameron's life, and how you really choose the people you have a crush on or like based on who you think you can get. Because most people are realists. Some people are dreamers, but lots of people are realists. And so when you have a high confidence, you usually shoot for the stars. And so I think it's important to shoot for the stars and have high confidence.
So for both of these books, we both completely recommend buying these books and reading them. Me and Noah for sure learned something from both of these stories, and I'm sure anyone who reads it would also.
I'm Noah.
I'm Cameron.
Thank you for listening.